Greetings everybody, my name is Tommy the Game Master and welcome again to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about the Contra Anniversary collection, and I will try to do a video on the Castlevania collection too. I had an audio set up and I was starting to edit, and then Konami actually updated the games and fixed quite a bit of what was wrong with them and added in the Japanese games. So I'm going to stick with the Contra right now and just tell you what I think about it. Right now, these anniversary collections are, for the most part, pretty good, but they're not without some flaws and some problems of their own. Mainly the problems I have with the games that they're kind of simple emulation used here. They don't have many extra save spots like you would find if you were playing them like on the NES Classic Mini, for example. And I think the biggest thing that irks me is the only way to get a proper 4:3 frame is to do it with the scan lines, which I don't mind. The filters they used here are pretty good. They look like the filters you would see in a old-fashioned TV set, but they do kind of make it hard to edit, and they do look a little ugly here on some of these videos that I'm shooting for this, so apologies there, but I like to play it 4:3. But anyways, let's take a look at the games and I'll tell you what I think. First up are the Contra and Super Contra arcade games. I love the way Konami did these. You have different difficulty modes, which basically limit your continues. This isn't like some of their arcade games they released on Xbox Live. You do have a limited amount of continues. You will be sent back if you run out of continues, so you do have to get good at them. This isn't just free play mode. I enjoyed that. Overall, I thought it was pretty fun. They also have a option to toggle on rapid fire or not, which makes the games a little easier. I have not gotten through Super Contra yet, but overall, these are fun arcade ports. That said, it's the NES Contra game that most of us remember from our youths, and no difference here. The NES Contra game is pretty well emulated, has the original cheat codes, and is pretty fun to play. This is NES hard at its best. It is extremely hard, it is extremely unforgiving, but it's also fair. This isn't one of those games where you feel like it's out to beat the crap out of you from the beginning and that there's no way you can get good because something's broken. This is perfection, and I love it. There's, like I said, cheat codes, so you can get 30 lives if you are a beginner and you want to practice, and they're easy to remember and to input. You know, it's the classic Konami code. You can find it anywhere online, and these are really fun games. The American version of Super C I didn't quite find as enjoyable, especially as a kid, mainly because they took away the 30 live codes from us Americans and made the game a lot harder. That said, as an adult, I can say this is actually a slightly better game than the original Contra. They're both really fun games, but Super C has more complex level designs, has better bosses, and is overall slightly harder than the original, and I mean that in a good way. The Japanese ROMs are included in the collection, so switch over to the Japanese version. There's very little text here, and those cheat codes will give you the full 30 lives. This game is a blast to play. Then we have Contra III, the Alien Wars, and I remember this for the Super Nintendo. I remember the first time playing it, freaking out when the airplane just kind of flies right past you and drops the bombs. There was nothing cooler than that. This is a really fun game to play too. They switched a few things up. You're allowed to carry more than one gun now. There are no cheat codes as far as I'm aware, but the option screen will allow you to go up all the way to 7 lives. And playing it on normal and easy, the game isn't that hard. And it's perfectly attainable to get good at this game and beat it on challenge. I have. So overall, fantastic game. You also have a Game Boy Contra game called Operation C. I've never played this one before getting the collection. I was going in prepared to hate this game because of what I found in the Castlevania collection when it comes to Game Boy games. And I have played the Game Boy port of the Alien Wars, and it wasn't terrible, but it wasn't great. So I was coming in with very low expectations, and what I found was a really fun game. With the exception of a jump that's a little wonky, this game runs smoothly. You always have a rapid fire on. It's, I think, the first Contra game that lets you upgrade your weapons by grabbing a second of the same kind. It has some really fun stage designs. I had some really good times just blasting my way through this Game Boy game, and I didn't expect that, so I was pleased. And then finally we do have the weak man on this collection, and that's Contra Hardcore. At least when it comes to the American version. I need to go through the Japanese version more. This is the only Contra game in this collection that has a story and has dialogue. It has a choose your own adventure motif, which would be great and really fun if Konami didn't Bayou Billy up the American port all to hell. It's obvious that the Japanese version, you're meant to have health. You're meant to have more than one hit for your life. It was a breakaway from this, just the way the stages are designed. So basically, what you go through in the American version is you have about what is equal to one life in the Japanese version, making this game harder than hell. And again, you can't just switch it over to the Japanese ROM, which, to be fair, is available here because all the text and all the choices are now in Japanese. Not great. And guess what? The Japanese version also has a bunch of cheat codes to help out beginners. Not available in the American version. So yeah, this is the Adventures of Bayou Billy Contra edition. And it's just crap, in my opinion. Kind of a shame, because if they hadn't Bayou Billy'd this up, it probably would have been the best game on here. Finally, we also have Super Protector and Protector. Basically, these are the European version of Contra, the Alien Wars, and Contra Hardcore. But since the Europeans kind of had, I guess, some aversion to the fact that they were human characters shooting each other up in these games, a lot of the characters were replaced by robots and reskinned. It's an enjoyable playthrough. I'm kind of happy they put these games on just because I've always been curious about what they've looked like and functioned like. So, decent additions, even if they're kind of forgettable. I don't think I'd probably be playing any of these games again, the Protector games, but it was a nice addition. And then again, like I said, you have the Japanese ROMs. The Japanese version of Contra for the Famicom is available right up front. You don't have to go into the special Japanese menu. What is different about the Famicom version of Contra compared to our American version is that there are some small cutscenes in the game. I have seen these translated into English. They're nothing really remarkable, and they're worth skipping. To me, they slow the game down, and it's less is more. That said, some of the background animations and having snow in the snowfield is nice, and again, I'm glad they gave us this version, but I think I'll stick to my American version here. So let's go over the Japanese versions that are in that special menu. I didn't see much difference in the arcade versions of Contra and Super C. That said, when it comes to the console ports, well, Super C, again, you have the 30 live codes. As far as Contra the Alien Wars, which is called Contra Free Spirit in Japan, you have unlimited continues, plus you get to fight the final last boss, even if you're playing on normal. You don't have to stick it in challenge mode, so that's a nice addition. They didn't really screw around with Contra 3. It's pretty much the same game, all three versions. And then the Game Boy Contra game now has a stage select, so if you just want to quickly play a stage, you can. That's a nice feature. And then again, Contra Hardcore, you got all your cheat codes, you got your actual life bar. The game is played the way it's meant to be played. It just sucks that all the texts are now in Japanese. Like I said, this should be the best Contra game, but Konami kind of just Bayou Billy'd up the Western releases of it, and that includes the Protector one too, so it's kind of hard for me to like this. I know it has its fans, but it's hard for me to like this one. Overall, do I think this collection is worth $20? Yes, I do. You get a lot of really great Contra games. Yes, there are some repackaged and reskinned ones, but if you're a Contra fan, it's always nice to play games that were released outside of your region and just see the different variations. and having the Japanese versions, which are slightly superior, was a nice addition to this game. So absolutely worth $20. There are some control issues, but Konami fixed that. You can now change the controls in one of the menus when it comes to the NES and arcade versions. Overall, like I said, get this game, well worth $20. This is Tommy the Game Master, thanking you for listening. You guys have a nice day.